Welcome everyone back to the 5-Star Podcast. We took a short break, a little hiatus.
Hey guys,
Happy summer, everybody.
Yeah, the summertime took us away from what we need to do, but we're back. We're sort of midsummer still, but we wanted to get one in.
Yeah, we were actually kind of itching to come back, so.
So who do we have today?
So we got Winston here, we got Steve Mack,
Hey.
we got Rod, and myself, Richard. All right, and today we're going to actually talk about the Canadian housing plan that was proposed back in April. I know it was back in April, but
But you know what?
We felt there's some valid points here that we didn't actually discuss. So.
I'm sure a lot of people aren't like really paying attention to all these things. There's a lot of fluff.
Yeah.
But we're gonna do a little bit of like a dive on it, just to make sure that people are aware, and we're gonna try to summarize all that fluff.
Yeah,
try to filter it out for you.
So with this housing plan, there's actually 3 parts to it. One part was to build more homes, right? Second is making it easier to own or rent. And the third part is helping Canadians who can't afford a home. All right, now we're going to focus on the second one, which is making it easier for Canadians to own or rent a home. All right, now there's actually about 15 points in this, but we're going to cover maybe like 4 or 5 of them. All right,
just the good stuff, guys.
Yeah, otherwise we're going to be like here forever.
It's pretty long, I saw.
Cole's notes. Let's go.
Don't want to fall asleep.
People don't know what Cole's notes are these days.
I just aged ourselves.
Cole's notes. Oh my God. Like,
Cole's notes.
Was that your generation? I don't know.
It's totally my generation.
Yeah,
What's
Cole's
Cole's
notes? It's the only way, man.
I don't
Any
understand
Shakespeare,
that,
man.
All right.
Let's do
Yeah.
All right, but so one of the key things that they've changed in this, making things more easier for homeowners is, or even for renting, right? Is that for renters, right? They've implemented this new thing where you get to report your rental payments on your credit history. So in a way, it's pros and cons, right? One, if you're making your payments, that's great, right? Because now when you actually are ready to make a purchase, you have all this history of making rent payments, right, for the lenders, right? Some of the cons, if somebody want to highlight some of the cons.
Well, think about it. If you haven't been making your payments, I mean,
It's basically like your credit card, right? I mean, you want to make sure that you pay your bills on time,
right.
And your mortgage. If you don't pay your mortgage, there's consequences. So with this one, if obviously it's the same thing. If you don't make your rent payments, it'll reflect on your credit history that you don't pay on time. So it'll not only affect your housing needs, could be like your phone bills, your credit card, your personal loans, everything goes up. Your
I just hope
percentages go up.
I just hope it wouldn't cause an increase in fraud. Like if the first time goes around and they have a bad credit, they fake it's happening already, but
we can't really stop like the bad apples that will try to game the system, but for the most part I think it's a good
step in the right direction.
Yeah, for someone that's like hoping to have like home ownership or car ownership or whatever, you don't want to ding your credit unnecessarily by not paying. So this is kind of like a deterrent to that. So I think it's a good thing, and I see a lot of pros for someone trying to build history as well, like especially for people that just came to the country too.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, all they have is
they have no credit. They have nothing.
Just a phone bill. Like,
exactly.
What do they have?
Yeah.
Right. So this helps them build some sort of history as well.
Yeah, and I agree. If you go back to the renting thing too, you don't necessarily say no to somebody who has bad credit, right? There's always a story behind it, and so our job as realtors is to validate that, to see if it's legitimate. Is there a legitimate reason why your credit's bad? Right. So I've personally taken some tenants as well who didn't have great credit history, but amazing character, right? Everything else checked out. So
there's exceptions for sure. I mean, you have to use your judgment, right? It's not a black or white, evaluation, right? There is some,
Well, you find people with no credit because they're just newcomers or they're students. They're just starting out.
They take a chance on them sometimes.
Take a chance.
You often
you can't take a chance on just a piece of paper. Like you have to kind of meet them, talk to them, get a feel.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
But no, like I think with that, it actually does, because I'm thinking about the fraudulent side too right now, And yeah, it is a big thing right now with renters is that it's pretty fraudulent. But it's also good. I think on the fraudulent side, like there's nothing we can really try to do. We can try to do what we can to filter out everything we can, but it's a tough thing. But on the other side, on the landlord side, with this new change, you know, how does this like help the landlords? Because I think even if they don't make payments, they can also put their past due payment amount. Let's say they didn't pay for 6 months, 8 months.
Wow.
They can actually put that balance onto their credit history.
Wow.
as a lien.
So it's a
Yeah.
delinquent.
Well,
Yeah,
as a
well,
as a
yeah, like a
creditor.
late payment
Oh, okay.
kind of a thing. Yeah. Well, that's just, it's great for landlords. I'll tell you that much.
I think it'd be good
you-
because
it's
in that way they
amazing.
can still go after them for the payments.
Yeah, it's a little.
I agree.
It's fair in a sense. It's not just all tenant in favor of
Mhm.
tenants. So
Yeah, I mean, like we've probably heard a lot of stories lately saying like, there's this, professional tenants or just tenants knowing their rights, and then they just stop paying, and they're like, hey, you know what? You can't kick me out even if you sell the property because I still have a right to live here. I don't have to accept this, and then it gets really ugly real fast.
so in the media, like increasingly, I see cash for keys from tenants, and they're making wild requests.
Well, their ask is crazy.
They're
Like the
asking
tenants
for
are asking
they're
a
asking
lot.
for cash. They're asking for the landlord to buy them another house, to buy them land, and some of these support groups, they're encouraging each other on a forum, like online. Like if they have a group, yeah, we should do this because it seems like this landlord's gonna flip it and sell it for a profit. They got the money.
Yeah.
They
I want a
feel
piece.
they feel
Right.
entitled
Yeah, and-
because they're like, oh,
Yeah.
we're tenants. You guys must
Yeah.
be rich. You guys
Yeah.
are making
Because
hand
you have a
over
rental
fist.
property, you got this,
You
right?
yeah,
it's
like you
covered,
can
right.
afford to pay me
Right.
$100,000
It's like, well,
Right.
why should
after you sell the property.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's not the
Yeah.
case for most investors.
Right.
But especially some of the smaller individual investors, like
The
it
mom
could
and
be
pops.
like,
Yeah.
mom and pops.
Yeah.
They just bought another property. Because of these interest rates hikes,
Yeah.
they cannot even afford a renewal, and then they're forced to sell it, or maybe even walk away or bankrupt. Like it's
Yeah. Or they're not even
It's-
they're not even cash positive
They're
with the
not.
rent they're getting now.
Mm-hmm.
And so now they're not even paying. So they have their own mortgage at their own house. And then they're supplementing this. They have another mortgage, right? So they're knee deep into their pockets, right? And but the tenant's gone. So what are you gonna do? You have to drag it
But
through
some
the
of these
process.
groups, I just watched a video saying, like, they were vouching to say, hey, these are investment risks. Just devil's advocate.
It's just actually insane.
Right, and they were saying, okay, I mean, like, the landlord had it good for so long
But
that it's time for
it's time to fight back.
It's-
It's
yeah,
like a
it's like-
revolution or something.
it's like a payback for tenants.
but they're the ones trying to
So,
advan-
do you
take
think the
advantage.
government should be looking at, look what's happening with these tenants? They're ganging up on the landlords. Do you think they should be putting in bills of rights or rights for landlords at this point in time?
I think there's
Absolutely. No, there
I
needs
think
to
there
be more
should be for
protections
sure.
for landlords as well.
yeah.
There
Like
needs
I
to be
mean,
more
there's,
protections for
there's no
landlords.
protection for
there's got to be
landlords.
certain categories
Like,
too, because right now they're just saying all landlords are the same. All landlords are one category,
Yes.
whether or not you're a multinational company that's investing in all the property.
Yeah.
So yes, you have to be protected against those big guys too. But
Yeah.
then the small guys are treated just the same as the big guys.
Exactly. And we work with the small guys.
Yeah,
We
we're
work
the
with
ones
mom
that
and
work
pop.
with the small
Yeah,
guys.
We're on the ground with them. So we understand. We go through the process
The big
with them
guys,
as well.
hey, they can drag this out indefinitely.
For sure.
The small, the small
Yeah.
mom and pops, like
Yeah.
the example you had.
What they really can't. to be
literally
quite honest.
have-
some of these bigger guys. It's still a negative draw on their cash flow.
Yeah.
Well, it
no, of
depends on
course.
how much they bought it for, though, right? Like, I mean, if they bought it for a cheap amount, they might not
So
even have a
let's just say if
mortgage.
they have like a portfolio of like 100 units in an apartment, right? And then let's say half of them decide to not pay.
They can move money around, though. I think.
Like
No,
it's,
it-
now,
it
now the
does
cash flow
yeah.
situation changes.
No, it,
Yes.
it
So that's why
affects them.
there still should be a bill of rights for
Yes.
the landlords that's saying, hey, listen, after 4 or 5 payments of not pay, like non rent,
Like automatic
You should-
eviction. I think it's
Yeah,
fair
I think it's
because obviously they have the intent to.
Yes.
It's now intentional.
It's
But
intentional.
from some of these tenants I hear, if they're renting directly from a corporation, from a builder, they're not protected by the tenant rights. They can get kicked out.
What's this?
If
like
you
a rental
if-
apartment.
yeah. So if you rent directly with the management, or you rent directly with a rental building,
That's not true.
they don't
That's
have the
not
same
true at all.
rights.
No, I
It's
I don't,
all
I don't think
predicted by
that's.
Ontario
Yeah.
residential tenancy.
If you're a
Act.
tenant, you're part of the.
Yeah.
You're under the bill.
That's just an apartment building that one owner owns,
Oh,
and they
That's a
rent them all
slumlord.
out.
That's
They're
probably just a
still they're
slumlord.
still under the same laws.
so maybe that particular tenant didn't know his rights. Maybe.
But you know what? I actually just thought about it. Like, you know how you're saying like the example of like, if you don't pay consecutively 3, 4, 5, 6 months, what if they're like, you know how people are pretty smart, so they're gonna be like, I'll pay on the 5th month just before I get kicked out, and then it restarts again.
Yeah, but okay, the tenant's got to be smarter too, because what if the landlord can't afford their home anymore, and they have to sell it? Then what is going to happen with the tenant?
But they're gonna stay. Like there's sellers.
But
that
after
stay.
5 months, if that law is in place, if they keep doing that, and then the landlord keeps getting into
Yeah.
get into trouble, and they're not able to catch up because now their interest payments are starting to accrue.
Oh, it becomes a bank
Well,
problem.
then the
actually.
bank takes over the property, right? Now it's the bank's problem to.
But they're
evict-
still under
to
the-
evict
But
tenant.
now,
Yeah.
Still
but the
there.
tenants are now in a situation where they may not have a home to live in.
They can
They
just
may
move
have
on
to
to
go
the
out and
next
find
one,
a new
though.
rental
Yeah.
property, especially if they have low rent payments or rent control payments at a certain price. Now they go back on the market and they're like paying like $400 or $500 more.
Who's to say that they're going to pay that anyways? They can pay the first
Well,
and
then
last.
they have to. Then it'd be hard for them to find another property,
Yeah, it will be. Yeah.
right?
I
So
mean,
they should be more wise and like, hey, cooperate with
Well,
the
they're
landlord.
looking like right in front of them. They're not looking at the long view, right?
Well, that's the problem, right? They got to look at the bigger picture because in the long term, it's beneficial to work with your landlord to make sure everything is cooperative because that way you have a long-term home to stay in, right? And
Well,
not create all these housing problems that we're experiencing right now.
I think it's hard to curb that attitude where I have nothing to lose kind of thing, and they're fighting for their rights, and it's I honestly think it's best to just cooperate.
I feel like this problem is becoming more of an issue lately in the last maybe like 4 or 5 years
Yeah.
than it has been in the past like 20.
It's a bit of a pinch. because-
not-
Well, ever since COVID, because all the tenant rights have now been more exposed to tenants, and
Yeah.
and they should understand it, but not game it, right?
Right,
Like to their advantage, because now it's just kind of like screwing up the system a little
Yeah,
bit.
because I think during COVID, people were like, I lost my job. I can't pay. And then they're like, you can't kick me out? Okay, I'll just keep doing
Oh, it's
it.
gonna take 8 months or a year to get to the
Or
landlord
12,
tenant board.
16 months just to
Yeah.
get to the board?
Oh, they were
All
backed
right.
up. They were backed up.
Yeah, they were backed up.
Yeah, it was
Still backed up.
Yeah.
But anyways, now all that late payments or the non-payments can actually go on their record, and they
I
can,
feel like that's got to be a next step. It's kind of like
And then
you
there's
get
a
a
way-
car loan too, right? If you don't pay that, you
It's
lose
some
your car.
accountability
Exactly.
for everyone, really.
Yes.
Like landlords, they're responsible to pay the mortgage.
Yeah, like I
Right?
mean, something as less of a like, let's say like car payments. You don't pay, the car's gonna get repossessed.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. That's everyone understands that.
yeah. So that's I think it's a big it's a
It makes-
It's a step
it's
in the
good
right
pro
direction.
and con.
Right? Yeah, there's
Right?
pros and cons.
Pro for
but
people who are very responsible,
yes,
and it could be a very big con for those people that are trying to
Gaming
game the system.
Yeah,
Right?
but I
True.
feel like there should be some.
But they can even show
consequences.
like late payment history, right? Like say they do the 4 or 5 months or 4
Yeah,
months
yeah.
later they'll pay. They can be like, yeah, they paid late. Like how many times, right?
Yeah,
I think that's the
So-
responsible thing to do because you keep everyone accountable, right? If the landlord doesn't do something, you have to provide it.
I think there's a process though for them to get that on their record for landlords.
Yeah.
It's not as
Currently?
simple. Yeah.
to report it on the credit report. Like,
Yeah.
Well, who
Yeah.
does the reporting? Is it the landlord that takes
The landlord will have to do that.
Okay,
They'll
so
have to
is
keep
that
track
in
of it.
Yeah,
play
so they
right
would
now?
have. Well, they would have to contact Equifax or TransUnion
Yeah.
or someone.
So is
like
that in play right now, or is that
I think so. There's I think there's something that's
there's a
already in
service
place
like
now.
that? I think it's a
Yeah.
paid service, right?
I think there's websites that you can actually go on and file. I
Okay.
forget the exact website right now,
Yeah.
but it is something that
Well,
landlords
yeah,
can
you
do.
know what? We can just link it in the bio afterwards. After the episode, and yeah, I mean, it definitely is a great tool. I think landlords can be very comfortable with that. If tenants are not, and you can probably filter them out. It's like, oh, I don't want to do this. Well, you're probably not a right fit. You can't game us then, right?
Well, with these tenants, like if someone mentioned that they should really introduce automatic evictions, like how commercials do. Like if you cap it at a certain rate, like maybe 1 year, maybe 2 years, I mean, it can't go on indefinitely. And then at the same time, they might be asking for exorbitant amount of money. The government should draw the line somewhere. Like if it's 1 year of arrears, then you qualify. You don't need to go through the court to decide that.
Automatically evicted.
It's like you're evicted for arrears unless you pay back. We have to change your lock. That's how most places are.
I mean, we have a different system.
I think our system here in Ontario is much different than other provinces.
It's true, yeah.
Ontario is well,
Wild West.
It's pro-tenant. Pro-tenant.
It's pro-tenant, and there's due process. You have to wait. You have to go through the channels.
Alberta has a whole different process.
Yeah,
they can just cut them off like that.
I'm not opposed. I'm not trying to be hard on tenants, but there should be some fairness. Like
I agree.
With accountability. If you're not doing something, you should be penalized.
So, I mean, I heard this one argument that I think I saw a clip. They were saying how this is basically theft. If you're not paying out and then someone else is subsidizing, it's basically it should be seen as like a crime. You're stealing, right?
Well, technically, you are.
Yeah,
that's.
I know, but in the Toronto laws, it's just like, oh, it's housing laws, so it's not criminal.
So even the police, when you call them up,
I can't do anything because it's
only the Toronto Housing Board can deal with these issues.
And if they can't do, the thing is, if the board can't do their job, shouldn't there be someone like just kind of looking into this, or expanding it a little bit?
Like if that's the case, if the Ontario or the Canadian government is putting in money into all this housing plan, right? This extra $1 billion or all this extra
deal
money
with this problem right here.
Deal with this housing plan. Invest more money into the landlord tenant board.
Like,
no, really,
100%.
I just dropped the mic. Let's just drop our mics right now.
Invest more money there,
man.
It's true. This is the heart of the problem too.
So I agree. Yeah. So if you make it more fair, more open market for both sides, there will be more options on the market in terms of rental.
Literally, I would say like right now, like all the money that we're spending, like on the topics we're going to be talking about later, if they were to put it in just to have more like another court, just to clear up the backlog, that alone will already alleviate like half the problems that we have. Because if tenants are like, oh, right now it takes more than 12 months to get a hearing.
Yes.
I don't give a fuck. Like I'm just gonna stay here and just
wait it out.
Yeah, like
right.
Let's see who's gonna win, right? Like I don't care.
All right, but no, like I think that is a problem there, and I think we were bringing up like different arguments on it for sure. Yeah. But no, like putting their credit history, putting on their credit history, late payments, how much they owe, right? How much back payments they haven't paid yet, right? We'll definitely defer. But then there's a lot of fraudulent crap that's happening in the market now, where they all try to make like credit reports look clean.
Yeah.
But it's the landlord's due diligence to make sure that they can go through that process and qualify them properly.
Yeah.
Right. So that they're not.
It is hard though. I mean, it's hard to spot sometimes.
Some of these are really good looking like reports until you actually go deep into the actual file. Then it's like, wait, this doesn't check out. Like, how come this doesn't check out? Right. Because I'll give you an example. One person gave me an employment letter. Right. And their employment letter was, it says this is the address. I went to the website, looks legit.
Logo, letterhead,
everything's legit. Yeah. Right. And then what happened was I looked up their address for the actual office and I found that it wasn't even an office. It was a warehouse. Right. So it was like they didn't know I went down that deep into checking if the company's legit.
Yeah.
Right, because I do that. Like I do check
Street view, and
exactly. And it's like, how come it's a warehouse? And then they're like, well, hang on, is this address correct? It's like, yeah, everything's correct. Well, every time I pull this address up, even when I visit the site, it's not an office.
Yeah.
Right, and then they're like, oh, let me check with them. Oh no, we're not interested anymore.
Right? You know what, man?
The deeper level of like checks like that is required
for sure. For sure.
right?
Yeah.
Because you want to even look. I honestly, when I do the checks, I check the employers and
Me
how
too.
long they've been employed, like how long they've been in business for,
Yeah.
right? And if like it's actually legit
Yeah.
business.
And you try to find the employers on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
or
Exactly.
Yo, you know
Right.
what? Another crazy story. So like recently I'm working on the landlord side. So I got a report. This guy is like, I've been working at this company, this Chinese company, trading company for like 5 years. And then I look at the address. I'm like, okay, it's a residential house. Like the employer.
Yeah, he works
I'm
from
like,
home.
okay, fair
He works
enough.
from home.
Maybe have it just like the corporation's list
Yeah,
under
yeah.
that address to start off. Whatever, it doesn't really matter. So after a little bit of I dig really, really deep. So I digged into the company. When were they incorporated? They were incorporated like 2 years ago. I'm like, yo, how can you work for this company for 5 years? And you're
Well,
only
it
incorporated
was-
for
it
a
was
year and a
called
half.
something
Like
else.
it's so subtle, but you catch it. Though,
I
right?
know. When I
Yeah.
catch it, and I'm like, yo, your boy's lying. You should stop
Wait,
working with him right
Yeah,
now.
I know.
But you know what? You ask some questions about it because you don't know if the actual agent is also involved
Yeah.
with this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you're
Because
right.
there's a lot of
You're
agents that are also
That's
like
true.
part of the scam,
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
right? And it's kind of stupid because they're putting their license at risk
Yeah.
for
Well, they can
$1,000
always
paycheck.
deny because
Yeah,
they don't
$10.
know, right? But at the end of the day, it's like
No, there are legitimate agents who are duped as well.
They're-
right?
yeah,
they
yeah,
they
yeah.
fell for it too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
And then
but
there's those who know
that's
better
also-
that you shouldn't, obviously.
but their own agents should be doing their own background checks on their own clients.
That's a
Yes.
that's a different episode.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
That's
I
a
mean,
different episode.
we're getting really off topic, but yeah, like I mean, there's a lot of things here with the whole rental.
Yeah.
Like we as agents, there's a lot of screening that happens, right? Just
behind the scenes.
behind
Yeah,
the scenes, you
it's
probably
not
don't know
super
it, but
interesting from
we do a lot of digging and a lot of like verifications, right? So, anyways,
Well, they introduced know your client. That's the part of the due diligence that you talk about. Like, if some agents don't do their job, they don't know their clients. They don't check their IDs and information. They just pass it along. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna apply. It's on the other agent. To
I
do
mean,
the
I
work.
guess it's like our nature to be trusting to begin
Right,
with, like
yeah.
within our business.
yeah. All right, but let's
yeah.
get back onto our topic here with the Canadian housing plan.
yeah.
All
For
right,
sure.
point number 2. I mean, because the whole tenant thing is very interesting, and that's a very different topic of conversation. But yeah, like if the second thing that we want to highlight from this new making it easier for homeowners to buy or rent, right, is the government actually using or actually increasing the
affordability, right?
no
Amortization.
actually, so first time home
Amortization.
buyers, they get the 30-year amortization periods on new
Right,
build
right.
homes.
Right.
for new
Only
builds.
new build homes, right? So if you buy a resale and it's on the market as a first time
You
home
kind of
buyer,
penalize a little bit.
you don't really get to
You don't benefit.
get the 30-year amortization. So the lower
Yeah.
payments that you make on your mortgage.
Yeah.
Right.
Why do you think that is just?
I
the
mean,
new build?
listen,
It's-
5 more years. You know, what I mean, does that really make
5
it?
years,
Well, it does.
5 more years
It's-
of
Well,
interest. Is,
that's 5 more years of interest, so the bank's happy. But I'm just saying,
Hell yeah.
what does that translate in terms of
well,
mortgage payments?
it's a
really?
lower payment.
I know, but
And
like how,
sometimes
but how
it
much?
could be
right?
it could be a difference between 35% on your ratios to 30% on your ratios.
Yeah,
Explain to the people.
Okay, well,
Listeners.
basically how much your income is to how much debt you're paying, right? That's the ratio, right? So if your payment is 30%, then the banks are okay with it. If it's above that, then they start to have to dig in and make sure that they qualify you
So there's like
properly.
a safety measure.
Yeah. So it's just a index that they use, right? But the ratios do make a difference.
But I mean, if you were to shut off like $200, $300 off your monthly payment, that could be a significant thing from
Yeah,
a
no,
lender's
I-
perspective.
I
It's like, oh,
understand.
now you're less of a risk.
yeah.
But
No, I understand. But
long-term
it just
wise-
takes you much
But here's
longer to
the,
pay it off.
here's the caveat
That's-
is that it's a new build home only,
yeah,
right? And with the market where it is right now, it's interesting because if you look at a condo that's brand new, pre-construction, we're talking like $1,100-$1,200 a square foot right now, right? That's the low. Then builders are already like at the lowest price they can possibly get it at, with the builder's costs, construction costs, materials,
Permits.
everything else. Like they've already got the
Yeah.
lowest point they can actually get without actually losing money. And now, but resale, if you're looking at resale even in a hot community, let's say, somewhere along the subway line, right? You're looking at least $1,000 a foot. Some are even going lower than that now. Some are like 800, 900. I think you mentioned to me that you got something at $950 a foot.
Yeah,
Recently.
this is Young and Eglinton.
Nice.
Yeah,
Right,
that's
so-
a great deal.
Wow.
That's amazing,
Yeah,
right? But
I was surprised.
But you can't get that in pre-construction prices.
the problem is that now you
Can't.
that's a big difference though, because let's do the math on that, right? On let's say $1,200 a square foot on let's say a 500 square foot condo, right? That's what's the math on that? That's like what that's actually about $700,000 if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Correct? About right? But if you're getting that for like 600 now on the market, or even less than that on the market, even in
You're
the
borrowing
500s,
less.
actually you're probably talking about like 500, 530, 520, 550ish around that range. That's a big gap, $150,000 difference.
Yeah, it's substantial because when you compare the inventory when new builds, they're incentivizing the new builds, which is great. You're moving inventory. There's an abundance of inventory now for the new builds, but the resale market is also accumulated, especially over the summer. And
Yeah, we have 10 months of supply for condos sales right now.
Holy smoke.
so typically
10 months.
So typically new builds
Wow.
you can negotiate, or it's very, 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 very hard, like very rare, because the builders won't budge. Now the buyers, they're targeting the resale market, where some of these sellers or individual small investors, they're willing to give up some profit or even some of their gains over the years just to offset it because of their financial reasons, right?
Yeah, whatever reason.
Whatever reason
yeah.
may be, they might have some hardship. They would not want to renew at a high interest rate. It's coming due where they have to renew. They don't want to do it, so people are just selling. That's why the new builds are competing with the resale right now.
Yeah, 100%.
So
Well, that's the thing.
Coming
And
issue.
we're at record low pre-construction sales for this year.
hmm
Yeah, like record low. Like I think, yeah, I don't know what the exact number is, but we know that it's the lowest amount of sales they've ever made.
Yes.
I was joking with Menkes,
Yeah.
with Edith.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, so who's buying right now? Who's buying pre-construction right now?
Mhm.
And then like, can you give me the demographic so I can go hunt for the demographic?
What did she
and
say?
then,
Okay.
and then she's like, well, like she gave me a few like few demographics,
Okay.
and I'm like, okay, where can I find Waldo?
I know, right? That's the hidden gem. He's there somewhere, right?
There is. It's just not. It's not
Yeah.
very easily
Yeah.
spotted.
Yeah, but look at how many launches we went to for pre-construction events last year.
This
Compared
year,
to
I
now.
don't think there's none.
I-
No, well,
there's some, but it was
It's
there was an
far
event
and few
every
apart.
week. We went to something.
Yeah.
It was crazy. There
Yeah.
was
We got
there were
spoiled.
invitation for
We got spoiled.
every week there was something.
So
something,
I
something.
think last year it was
crazy.
the September to November where we're almost like
Yeah.
bi-weekly or weekly.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying, right? There was a period of time where whatever the season was, but every week during that season, it's
Yeah.
like here's an event, here's an event, here's an event.
Come to our event,
Yeah.
sell our stuff.
So many launches,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
now builders are like, okay, let's hold back.
So
Take a
there's
step
like
back, and then just-
two groups. Some that kind of got caught up in the inventory, like they couldn't sell more than the threshold. Some that have actually sold and they're in the ground, like they're
Well, they got the
starting to build
construction
already.
loans, they got the things going through. But here's a problem now: even when they're getting like close to completion, like a lot of people just can't close
They're
on these
signing them,
properties.
or
They're
trying to-
trying to sign
yeah,
them,
sign
and they
them.
can't get them to sign.
The thing is, the banks are also like, I can't give you this money anymore
Yeah.
because it's not worth it. Resale's worth this much. Like,
Yeah.
now I'm stuck. Even
the,
if
the
it went-
appraisals, yeah, oh,
yeah.
man.
So like, I mean,
So how does that
Well,
how
the
does that work?
appraisals are still getting appraised. They're fine. They're getting the money, but it's just that they have to qualify because the ratios are still
it's
like
high.
off.
You
right?
bought it
Because
5
now
years
it's like
ago,
your
right?
risk is too
Yeah.
high.
Yeah,
But no, but if the appraisal doesn't go through, they have to come up with a shortfall,
yeah.
right? That's the problem.
It's
That's
true.
also another.
Do you
issue
have
as well.
that?
If
Do
you
have
if
that?
you buy from the builder $1 million condo and the builder is still expecting $1 million, the bank's saying, you know what, this market's changed, we're only appraising it for 800,000. You have to be
200,000 is
No, that's okay. Yeah,
right?
you're
So-
right. On certain, like, yeah, it happened in 2017, right? And even like a couple years later after that, like where banks were appraising like new homes, right? But a lot of these new condos, they're approving them. Like a lot of them are getting approved, like either private or B or whatever, but they're getting money because there's so many new builds right now downtown that are still closing, and there's tons of units on the market for rent.
For rent, yeah.
Right?
The
Like,
rental market's flooded right now.
yeah, like look at time and space. They went through like 4 buildings, right? And then Center Court had a couple buildings along Church and Jarvis, and then there's so many different buildings downtown that are being like completed right now,
Yeah,
delivered.
Does size matter? Like I remember at one point, like
I don't know.
4 mortgage approval.
You gotta cut this one.
Oh,
No,
No,
size,
no,
size
why-
does matter.
Rich just started laughing, so I can't. And
No,
Does
no,
it-
we
does
gotta,
it-
no,
does it
no, we
matter?
gotta keep it. We gotta keep it for sure.
That's another podcast. This is
That's another
not
podcast. But does size matter? Okay, let me finish my sentence. Does size
For
matter for the
comfort.
mortgage approval?
Well, I don't know. I'm not a mortgage person, but I think people are getting approved. Like there's banks that are approving. Clearly, they're closing on these studios that are like
Studios.
350 square
Yeah.
foot,
yeah.
320, 330 square feet. Like you're getting them approved.
'Cause I remember
In the past, before it was like after under 500, like under 400 square foot range.
Under 400 square foot.
no
they had a lot of
800
problems.
touches.
Yeah, but now they are
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
because look how many new builds are coming out.
They're
that
smaller
are-
and smaller. It is what it
Yeah.
is.
Because I find because of that issue, a lot of builders they pivot a little bit and they stayed away from building, introducing more
Well, they do
Back-
like
are you-
small 1-bedrooms. They'd rather do
small
that.
1-bedrooms.
They'd rather like
Like a
junior 1-bed.
Junior 1-bed. I
Junior
know.
1-bedroom.
That's
yeah.
a studio.
It is a
Studios
studio.
are
Studio
like
with the den.
right-
You got your
Yeah.
1-bedroom without walls.
Wow.
That is a studio.
Yeah, junior 1-bedroom, man.
Studio with a den.
Yeah.
That's it.
Hey.
But
I mean, terminology shifted, and
But-
maybe the banks like it better.
Yeah, but anyways, let's go back. Let's get back on topic again, right? Because we're talking about a 30-year amortization. So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
they still can qualify. People's ratios can still make sense, right? And people can still close on these properties. But yeah, like
It helps. It helps. I mean, it does.
But
right?
you know what? Like, I mean, so why limit it just to first-time home buyers in the pre-construction realm, and why not like? Because clearly, there's an incentive now for people to buy like resale because it's cheaper. Why not incentivize people to actually move? This is another hurdle in my mind. Like, I see this. Sure, you're helping one aspect that's not selling,
Right.
which is helping builders, right? But why not get the economy move? Right now, it's stagnant. Everything's stagnant.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. But the
I'm just
the
kinda-
initiative is for first-time homebuyers, right?
Oh, even first-time home buyers can buy like resale, but they don't get this benefit.
Yeah, well, it should be across
like
the board.
that's my
right?
question.
It
Like,
should be.
why not
Why is
just
new
make it
build?
across the board?
Well, because new builds, it's slow right now, right? They're trying to
it's probably an
I know.
incentive to buy
New
new
builds for
inventory
the-
because
for the
the
builders.
inventory is sitting right now.
right.
Pre-con buildings are sitting, and these builders
Well, they're
can't
trying
carry.
to increase homes, like number of homes
The
built.
supply, yeah. So if you can't get into resale, here's a new build. Here's the incentive, right? They're pushing
But-
towards that.
Think of
Yeah.
it this way: they're like right now we have a housing crisis, number of homes being built, but prices aren't down. But if they were to just look back at the numbers, like what are these builders' costs? Where like is it all profit? No, it's most of the cost is actually coming from materials. It's coming from like
It's labor.
permits,
It's labor.
It's coming
Mostly
from
it's labor.
government costs,
Yeah.
land
We
value.
talked about that
So-
in a couple of podcasts.
yeah,
We've
so
had builders tell us the true cost.
if you're looking at
that's
all
true.
these things, shouldn't they be like targeting certain policies to lower some of these costs so that it's costs less to build? That way, it's going to just bring the price down, right?
Well,
But
we can't really control.
That's
what the
hard to.
policy
can't-
That's hard to.
I know. But
Yeah.
again, that's just like if you take a step back, why are prices actually going up? It's because all these things are going up.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back
Yeah.
on track.
Yeah,
And,
but like the 30-year amortization period, that's it's good.
Yeah.
Right. But it's new build only.
Right.
Right. It's still something that the Canada
It's something
government is
better.
trying
Yeah.
to do. Honestly, a lot of this, I'm reading through the whole thing, and it sounds a lot of fluff, to be quite honest.
Banks are happy to hear about
what,
this.
what,
Yeah.
what other measures are they?
But anyways, there's
introducing?
other things like that they are doing that I think has some value. Right. Is they increased the first-time home buyers plan, where they went from 35,000 to 60,000, right, to kind of reflect on our existing market. And what can you buy with $35,000 today, guys? like
A
like
parking
for
lot.
down payment for
Down payment for a
it's
parking lot.
right? So yeah, they increased it to 60 grand. So that's actually pretty good. Yeah, and that helps with getting people into the market because 60,000 on a $500,000 condo, let's say that's it's about 10%, right? That's more than 10%. Yeah, that's actually pretty decent. So people can actually use that to save, right? And then of course they They also changed one of the other things that they actually made a change on for that same program is the repayment program, because people may not know this, but to use that first time home buyer plan, they have to repay that loan. So what they borrow money from their RSP as a down payment, but you have 2 years to pay that back. Right now, they extended that for an additional 3 years, so you have 5 years.
Yeah, it's got to come from somewhere. RSP, maybe some investments, TFSA. Like it's got to
just
come from
leveraging
somewhere.
your,
But it
your
helps
retirement
out.
money.
Yeah. That extra
fine.
3 years helps out a lot for especially first time
does.
home buyers, right? So
For sure.
now you have 5 more years to kind of just figure out your stuff before you have to actually start
Well,
paying.
I mean, 5 years is a long
It's a lot.
time,
It's a
right?
lot,
Because
though.
think about how
Yeah.
much of a growth you can have in your career within
Yeah.
5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I say parents should implement that 3-year repayment program.
Yeah.
Thank you, mom and dad. Hey, 3 years,
Yeah.
gotta get my money back.
I mean, I have
As
some.
if, right? As
No,
if.
honestly, I have some a buddy of mine. He borrowed from family as well, and he pays back every month. So, and he's a good guy.
That's amazing.
He's a good guy.
Well, he's very
That's rare.
responsible.
Yeah, I know. Like he's paying like $1,000 a month just on the payment that
To his parents.
That's rare.
Like other
Parents.
than
Yeah,
so if
family.
It's
well, money that he borrowed from like parents or
Probably
Okay.
wife's
HELOC
parents or in-laws or
Well, they
some
probably
sort
took
of
money out of their own property, and he has to pay that
Maybe.
credit back.
Yeah.
Like a
yeah,
line of
exactly.
credit.
So again, good guy. You know, some people they're like, I'm strapped. This is all I'm tapped out.
Yeah.
But he's making it happen,
Yeah.
which is
Probably
amazing.
doesn't leave like a burden on their family
Yeah.
at the end
So
of the day.
rare case, good guy.
Well, that's
Just
an
wanted to
honorable
Great
thing
guy.
to do. That's good.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Good job.
Great guy.
He's great.
Are we gonna link his picture?
Yeah, link his picture. Where's his
No,
Instagram?
no,
It's
no.
right here. Awesome. No, that's a good guy.
Thank you for being good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for being responsible.
All right. But another thing that they did add the Canadian government, right, is they introduced this, but they're calling this as part of the 2024 plan. But that's the tax-free first-time home savings account.
Mhm.
Right. So that's where you have a 5-year program, right? You get to put in $8,000. Yeah, $8,000 per year, right? To this tax-free savings for your first-time home
Mhm.
account. Yeah, and then you can use that as a down payment.
It's basically a TFSA for home buying.
Yeah, it's basically your combo
Yeah.
between your RSP and your TFSA, right? It's tax sheltered, it's tax sheltered, so that's tax deductible. You can actually reduce your tax on that, but also any gains you on it that you grow, it's tax free as long as you use it towards your first time purchase.
So these are great measures. Like we listed a few. I mean, highlighted a few. But how does this change the fact that a renter or a younger person, how can they get into the market if the first condo they look at is 600,000, 700,000? Like, does the new policy address that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, like the first time home buyer build, the amortization for 30 years, that does help them get into the market if that's what they're looking for. Maybe they don't have the down payment right now. Maybe they can put a deposit and wait a couple years until their career kind of matures. That could be something that helps. I mean, the credit history for tenants.
That's a big change. That's actually a big change.
That's a huge change, I think, because like right now, like especially like you graduate, you probably don't have much credit history. This allows you to build it. Whether if you're on a roommate or whatever, you put your name on. It's almost like car insurance. If you're always under your parents and you're never like listed on anything,
Yeah.
they don't know.
You don't have a history of
You don't have any
insurance.
history,
So,
right?
yeah.
But if you put your name attached to something, it starts building, and then your rates come lower, right?
Yeah, but to your point, I mean, there's a lot of condos in good communities that are priced really low right now. Like we're talking a 1+1. I'm
Like where we find these?
so this is Shepherd and like 404 area.
Young and Shepherd area.
No, Shepherd and 404.
Oh, Shepherd 44. Yeah.
So
Fairview Mall.
yeah, Fairview Mall area, close around there, that vicinity. Right, so you can find a 1+1 with 2 bathrooms, right, for $560,000 right now,
There's a lot of sleeper areas. I agree.
Sorry, 1+1 and parking.
plus parking.
Wow. That's crazy.
For 560.
That's crazy.
You know what? Most units
That's
are
crazy.
like they're taking a lot of.
That's
I have
that's
something that's coming up right now.
Big
and
L right there.
I'm not trying to promote this, but it's like a 2-bedroom, 2-bath
What's the
condo
MLS number?
townhouse. Condo
It's coming
townhouse
up.
in the Young and Finch area.
How much?
Asking for 630.
Oh wow,
How many square feet?
2-bedroom, 750.
yo, that's
630.
Yeah,
That's a good deal.
yeah. Any buyers, call me.
All right.
That's a plug.
No, I'm just kidding. No, but it's saying there's a lot of opportunities right now. So for first time home buyers, there's actually a lot of
There's
great
deals. There's
things
deals.
on the
There's
market
deals.
that we can take advantage of. Right, they're already pretty much at the bottom because we've had 2 rate drops since our last podcast. Right, and we're anticipating another one in September coming soon.
Mhm.
Right, so that's before that third one hits, get in before people start to really rush into the market again.
Yeah, actually, just this summer alone, I noticed a lot of the rate cuts didn't take effect yet. So the buyers still kind of waiting on the fence, hoping for more, and then sellers
Yeah.
are sitting around hoping for a higher price, but there's no action. Like even if there's an offer, it might be coming in at really low. Just
So actually, it's interesting is that like after the first one in June, I noticed that nothing happened for the first week or so.
Yeah.
We're 2 weeks, but the third, fourth week in, that's when people started to really look at making moves. Because then, like even then, they're rumblings about maybe we're not going to rate cut, because of this or that, blah blah blah. The government's talking all this fluff, but they actually cut it again, and now there's a lot more activity in the market, and it's also summertime too,
Mhm.
and everyone is in summer mode. Everyone's on vacation. Everyone's just kind of tired of like, all these things, even including us, man. That's why we took a break.
Yeah,
No,
you know
100%.
what? Honestly, we only have like 2 months of summer, so honestly,
Yeah.
and we've hit like
Sure.
July, August,
Yeah.
where kids are out of school,
Yeah.
parents
Yeah.
are busy with kids' activities and stuff. So it definitely is makes
It
sense.
affects purchasing behavior. Like so we're boots on the ground. What do you guys know right now with your buyers? What are they saying?
I wanted to
Like-
really share about like some of the clients that I'm coaching,
Yeah.
whether it be first time home buyer or maybe investor looking for a property for their kids.
Yeah.
I highly recommend them be active during summer, during winter, during slower seasons.
Yeah.
You have less competition for
Yeah.
buyers, and you fire out like you go and obviously look at properties that are within your criteria. And whatever it is, could be school, price, location, but you fire out offers and try to find a seller that is willing to negotiate. They may or may not take a loss, but in this marketplace, because there's more inventory, you have higher chances of finding that gem. Like
everyone wants a deal, right?
Everyone wants a
so
deal.
you're saying just put it out there,
Just throw it and
out
see what
there
sticks.
and see what happens, right?
Throw it against the wall. see
You
what
have
sticks.
nothing to lose, right?
Well, I mean, be educated, obviously, before you start just throwing random like offers at people.
No,
'Cause
no.
It does get annoying
Well-
as on the listing side.
Oh yeah,
Right?
no,
It gets
for
annoying
sure,
when you
for
get
sure.
a bunch of like lowball offers.
No, for sure.
Nobody's
But
reasonable.
but at the same time, I make sure these buyers understand to put in offers that are not attached with emotions. Like just put in, it's a numbers game and target. Well, this is just what I tell them.
Hang on, Steve. You might be pissing off a lot of owners, and you're not
Well,
going to get any deals
you
at
know,
all.
it doesn't matter. But I'm saying if I'm on the buyer side, I
We work
gotta
for
coach
the
them.
we
Yeah,
work
on
for their
both sides.
benefit,
So
right?
yeah, I see what you're saying.
So
I
at the
see it.
same time, I make sure to have them,
Before you do that, do you educate them on like what's going on in the market,
yeah,
And
absolutely. But
what the
Let me-
price
let
is,
me
what the
finish.
market value price is?
let me finish. Let me finish.
We're on opposite sides here.
Yeah, because you have stuff to sell.
Yeah,
But
here's the seller, here's the buying agent. Like,
Hear me out. Hear me out.
Right now.
I frequent have higher success rates with single sellers. If I see them on title, if it's just a single, or maybe even a corporation, the emotion is much less when they have to be involved with like a
There's only one
marital
decision maker.
issue.
That's what
There's
you're
one
saying. There's only one
maker,
decision maker.
or it could be a
So-
corporation where hey, it's just a business decision. They're just going to sell it off before a certain time. Like if it's a mortgage renewal, and we just look for those. Like, hey, looks like a good one, and it's sitting on the market for 60 days during the summer.
Mm.
This is the one.
Why not try it out?
Why not
There's-
try it out?
there's no
You
harm.
have nothing to lose,
Yeah.
and you have no competition.
Yeah, but you're also saying, go for the property you really want too.
No,
Don't just
I
throw
don't-
out
I think it's like
offers
this.
and
So I
hope
think
one
if your
lands,
your
like-
approach like that is is fine as long as
Shotgun
they're
approach
actually
right now.
Yeah.
like serious about buying, right? But if it's just like, okay, well, listen, we can try to do a low ball and test the waters. It's kind of like when you're playing poker, you throw it out like a little bit of chips just to feel out the table where it's at, right? But you have to be like, you have to educate them on what the seller actually needs and what they want.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's not just throwing a number out there for the sake of throwing a number out there, because you're just going to piss off a whole bunch of owners.
No.
And then by the time you
that's
actually
main-
come back with a real offer, they'd be like, this guy's not serious. Are you
No,
serious?
that's the
Like,
main thing. You never start with an offensive offer. You something.
Oh,
Something.
man,
well,
I've
it
seen some
sounds like you were. Right?
No.
But if
That's
it's like,
not the
if it's
way.
a tester, okay, well, like, okay, maybe they do have a lot of room, right, to move, and you throw a low one in there. It's like, okay, well, like, come back. Like, honestly, like, this is too low. Like, we're not even going to consider this because it's just not. It's
Yeah,
not
there's-
reasonable.
you know what?
Like a lot of times, people are like, I bought this 2 years ago for this much money, and you're giving me a number that's below what I bought it
You
for.
have to do some research before throwing it out.
You know, this is for even realtors listening. If they come in really low and you don't have a discussion ahead of time with the listing agent, that can be really offensive and a waste of time. So I advise, like, often maybe just have a call, have a conversation. Hey, would this be an offensive offer, or are we just like shooting?
Wasting
Okay, one,
time.
you
Yeah,
sound like
yeah.
you're very inexperienced when I get that.
That's right.
One, you're very inexperienced. You sounds like, even if you're 15, 18 years, 20 years, whatever, you do that. And it's like, you're like, are you really serious? Like, are you an active agent, or are you just pretending to be an agent?
No, so I've had agents come up to me with like the worst low ball offer, but they'll call me and they'll say, "Listen, I'm going to apologize right now for this.
exactly.
I've been instructed by my client to give you this offer. I personally think this is bad, but I'm going to do it." And I respect the agent when they say that, because at least they're laying it out right there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, like, I've educated them. This is what they told me to do. So this is what's
Exactly.
going to happen.
Exactly.
Right? This is what's
Yeah.
happening.
Exactly. So I appreciate the effort on that. But then there's some agents who just come in like, "This is a good offer.
And
200
then,
grand."
then they get
Like,
aggressive with it.
Or
And then they get
there's-
"This is
aggressive.
a good
like,
offer."
no, there's
and
some-
I say, "Would you take it?" Oh, I mean,
There-
No.
Oh, so it's gotta be
Have you
It's
ever
got to be
seen
backed with
where-
facts.
well, exactly.
Right.
Like if you see a listing that says like, oh, we're taking offers in this,
Yeah.
let's say 799, the property's worth $1 million. You're like, yo, I'm gonna give you 801, 810 is a good offer, bully offer. Like, what are you on? Like, do you know next door sold for like $1 million? Like, come on, bro.
But you know what? That's
prescription maybe.
That's often the case.
What are
if-
you on, man?
But that's often the case if
What are
you're listing it for a multiple offer in this market.
No, I know,
I've
but
seen
you know
that.
what? Here's the thing, Steve. What I'm trying to say is that I think you're missing like one aspect of it. If you're just throwing offers out there, is you got to make sure you educate the client on what the market
Well, I
value
think he's
is.
doing that already.
right,
Like
no,
he was saying,
exactly.
Right?
yeah,
No,
he
I
but
was
don't think he
saying.
explained that.
no.
He's just like, oh, we just throw a bunch
No,
of
no,
offers
no,
out.
you're not-
Obviously, Steve has a process. He will go.
Yeah,
through
yeah.
the-
Like,
but
yeah,
just
short form.
but-
Yeah, I think he does
but in
it. But
general-
like,
You got to highlight the strategy. All those educating obviously goes without saying, because that's everyone's job to make sure.
Otherwise
that
you're
I
wasting
don't
your own
know.
time, though.
There's a
You
lot of
don't
people
wanna
that
do that.
don't. That's the problem, right?
Hey, don't doubt.
yeah, don't waste your own time.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a realtor, don't just shoot just because.
Yeah. Anyways,
client
that's a little
told
bit
you
of realtor rant there, guys.
True. But yeah, I mean, right now, bottom line is, if you're on the hunt, if you're on the market, it is a good time to try to find a bargain.
There's a lot of good deals. I mean,
yeah.
again, like I mentioned there, we have about 10 months of supply
Yeah.
right now for condos. Right. And if you're a first time home buyer, there's a lot of great deals on the market right now that
Yeah.
you can absolutely take advantage of if you want to get into your first time or
But-
first home.
You know what? Honestly, just a reality check. Remember how it wasn't that long ago, maybe like 3 years ago, 2021, where the market was absolutely on fire. And if you were a buyer, you're basically like, you're just
No
shooting
conditions.
offers, no conditions.
Yeah.
You do not want to, you do not want to put yourself in that situation if you're a buyer now,
No.
because right now you have the time to do your research. You have the time to pick and choose and negotiate. So I don't know why, you know, some people are not leveraging that. Maybe they like that, the bidding process or whatever it is.
Put in your finance condition. Put in your home inspection.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Put
you have
whatever
all,
So-
you have all
time.
the opportunities right now to
Do it.
protect yourself.
Unless you enjoy
Yeah.
that stress of just bidding wars and losing out,
Yeah.
this is a better time than it was
Yeah, you're right.
as a buyer.
But
You're right.
but it's just herd mentality. Everyone think, oh, this is a good time.
No,
When
I
they- when they-
understand that.
When they see this on the media that it's good time, you probably missed the boat
Yeah.
by the time. It's like,
It's
oh,
true.
everyone's seen
Yeah.
it. Oh, maybe
Yeah.
we just go out and buy something now.
It's like, oh, if we don't buy now, we can't afford it. Well, this, you can afford it now.
Yeah.
So
don't jump when everyone jumped. Then it's
No,
over,
no.
right? Now we're back, bid wars, et cetera, et cetera. So
I mean,
All
you know
right.
what? Like, honestly, just make sure, like, if you're a buyer and you're looking at buying your first time, or you're thinking that, okay, is this a good time to buy? Work through your numbers. If the numbers make sense and you feel comfortable and confident with the numbers that you have to pay out every month, go forward, right? Because it's never, you can't ever time when you can get into the market that's best, right? It's impossible.
it's whenever you're ready, and if you feel like home ownership's for you.
Yeah. And it's not like you're,
Right.
okay, like you're holding on to this property, not just for 1 year, 2 years before you start selling it. It's your home.
Yeah, you're buying a home.
You're buying a home, and
starting
you know
a
what? Your
family.
equity is going to
You're
start to
starting the next
build.
chapter.
You're going to start paying lower payments as your equity starts to continue to grow, right? And
yeah, always look at real estate as a long.
Yeah, and by
well,
the
you
end
should
of it,
look at real estate as a long term.
you're buying an asset.
right?
You're literally buying an
I
asset.
really think so because
Right.
I think we can all agree with a high level of confidence, degree of confidence, that the worst is behind us. Like if you were to hold long term, the rates may ease off as opposed to increase because based on just the market conditions and the environment right now.
Yeah,
So I think if you're
it's whatever your strategy is. If you're
I
an
agree.
investor, you want short term gain. Okay, well, then you're in it for short term. Go ahead. But if you really want to get in the game and you want to see some returns, you have to see it out. You have to see it out.
well,
Right.
if it's short term, you may stand to lose more in this
Right.
market because the rate hasn't really eased off yet. But if in the long run, you average it out, it's better to hold
Exactly.
if you were to
hold-
buy
Yeah.
in the next few
Okay.
years.
Yeah, I mean, your payments can actually be lower than rental payments right now once you own,
Mhm.
right? So,
Yeah. All right. Well, we're coming up to
great.
time,
All
guys.
right.
Any final thoughts?
No,
I think
I mean-
we've discussed a lot.
Yeah, no, it was a really good call.
So yeah, the
good-
Canadian housing plan, there's a lot of things here that can benefit both sides of the landlord and tenant, but also helping a lot of buyers, try to get into the market for the first time.
Yeah.
Right. And take advantage of what's available on the market now. We are in a buyer's market for condos,
Yeah, I
right?
agree.
And for regular home, we're still sort of in balance, but like you're in a buyer's market right now, so you can take advantage of your options.
Yeah.
Yeah, enjoy the summer, but also enjoy this market before calm before the storm.
Yeah. So we really appreciate you guys getting through this episode, listening to us, and like, share, subscribe.
Yeah, it would help us a lot.
And we really, what is that?
You're putting
Yeah,
the like and
he's
subscribe
like-
button.
he's pulling the what
Get your
kind
mind
of
out of the
motion
gutter,
is
man.
that?
Just
I don't know
I'm
what you're
saying,
trying to.
like and subscribe right here. This is
Oh
the like
my
button.
god!
What were you,
All right.
what were
So-
you alluding to, man?
I don't know where the.
I don't know what he's
The
doing.
What were you
size
trying to
matters.
say?
Most people just do this.
All right,
Like,
fine. Like and subscribe.
But yeah,
Let's
you
do
just
it.
point in the air, and then we'll like put a
Get
little
your head
bubble
out of the
there.
gutter,
But
bro.
yeah.
All right.
That's
Okay,
beautiful.
guys.
But anyways,
All right,
have a
thanks a
good
lot.
summer,
Have a good one,
guys.
guys.
See you in
All
the
right.
next one.
See you next one.
Take care.
Yeah.